Hello, everybody. It is me, Canner Yu-Gi-Oh! And we are back with another video. This time, I know it's been several months, but I am actually back this time, hopefully. Life is pretty hectic, so I don't know if I'll get to be as active as I'd like, but we'll see. Anyways, we are here today with my new, honestly, favorite deck in all of Rush Duel Links, the Metarion archetype. So, the Metarion deck is a series of normal monster-themed fusion cards that have various effects depending on the types of the monsters that are on your opponent's field, as well as an additional effect that is generally just pretty good. Hercule Star shuffles up to 3 monsters from your opponent's graveyard into the deck. Ladon Star makes 1 face-up monster your opponent's field lose 1,500 attack and defense rather. Metarion Ashura Star destroys 1 face-down card on your opponent's field, monsters or back row. And finally, Vritra Star changes 1 monster's battle position on your opponent's field to either face-up attack or face-down defense. Now let's talk a little bit about their unique effects depending on the number of... depending on the type of the monsters that are on the field. Hercule Star can shuffle up to 2 face-up spellcaster-type monsters on your opponent's field into the deck. Ladon Star makes all face-up dinosaur-type monsters on your opponent's field lose 2,000 attack and defense until the end of this turn. Ashura Star makes it so that 1 face-up cyborg-type monster on your field gains attack equal to the total attack of all face-up warrior-type monsters on your opponent's field until the end of this turn. And finally, Vritra Star destroys dragon-type monsters on your opponent's field up to the number of face-up cyborg-type monsters on your field, which all the fusions are. Now, you might be saying, how do we navigate into a position where we are able to get that off consistently? Well, that's where this card comes into play. Type Change Beam. You can reveal 1 monster in your hand, and up to 3 face-up monsters on the field become that same type. So, by, say, revealing Sir Painter, we can end up making Vritra Star to pop 1, or if we have another fusion on the field, we can use Vritra Star to pop 2 cards. We can also, by revealing Sword Dancer, make Ashura Star very, very big. Glaciosaurus can make it so our opponent's monsters become very small. And Magic Juggler makes it so that we can shuffle up to 2 face-up spellcasters that our opponent controls, so 2 of their face-up monsters back into their deck. We are on a couple of interesting choices here. This card, Imaginary Arc Turbo, honestly, I think is not worth it. This deck, very often, you're going to be using the other skill, but we're playing it because it is a good enough card. I think that's kind of the position that we want to be in. Looking at other lists. Yeah, they're not on the talismanics. Other lists aren't on the talismanic seal arrays. I am going to switch to purposeful back row here instead of Ghost Cyclone, just because I think Ghost Cyclone sometimes is just really bad. So we're going to actually change over to the Barrage of Steel. But there are some deck lists that aren't on talismanic seal array. The big reason why I am on talismanic for this build of the deck, I only have the 2 copies of Star Restart. I think if you have the 3, it is much easier to convince yourself to not be playing this card. The reason I'm playing it is I like to get the shuffles. But again, it's very, I think, up to interpretation at this point. I don't think it's definitively yes or definitively no. But let's get into a couple duels here. And very likely, it's going to be up against Cyber Dragons. Oh, is this maybe not Cyber Dragon? Oh my goodness, folks, we might not be facing off against Cyber Dragon for this first duel in the video. So we have a hand here of Imaginary Reactor, Serpainter, and Star Restart, and Glaciosaurus. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're actually just going to set 3 here, setting our 2 normal monsters and the Star Restart. We will be able to Star Restart next turn for one of these to be able to get into our big fusions. And we also, due to our skill, are going to be able to send Monster Reincarnation, rather, from our deck to the graveyard, which turns on Imaginary Reactor's effects to be able to tuck those back and draw 2 cards, which means we will have more likelihood of finding the copies of our fusion, which I think is incredibly valuable, obviously. So we're going to take 1,000 here, and then they're going to attack into our Glaciosaurus. Hey, that's not something I'm going to complain about. We're going to draw 4 cards here, and well, it's Monster Reincarnation. That does actually change some things. So what you can do, interestingly enough, about Monster Reincarnation is this. So what we're going to do is we're going to activate Monster Reincarnation. We are going to pitch Imaginary Reactor and add our Imaginary Reactor back to our hand. We're going to flip Imaginary Reactor up. We're going to activate its effects, sending 2 to the graveyard, and then we are going to tuck our Monster Reincarnation to the bottom of the deck and draw 2 cards. We drew into Fusion, ladies and gentlemen. Now that is great. We're going to go ahead and normal summon our copy of Sword Dancer here and activate our Fusion. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to make Ashura Star, and with Ashura Star's effect, right away, we are going to be popping our opponent's back row here. So we're going to pop that back row, and it is Tribute to the Doomed. That's a very, very good rip for us. Now, we are going to go ahead, activate our skill, Metarion Script, which is going to be able to send us a Monster Reincarnation into the graveyard. Why are we doing this when we have basically a full board? I'm doing this to be able to draw into more of our deck and potentially draw into some back row. I think drawing into our negate attack would be great. Well, we didn't draw into the negate attack, but we did draw into a very, very powerful part of the deck, the Glaciosaurus part of the deck. We're going to go ahead, activate our Fusion, and we are going to be making Ladon Star here by sending these 2 to the graveyard. Come on out, Ladon Star, my beloved. Next, we are going to activate the effect of Metarion Ladon Star. We are going to be dropping by sending Imaginary Actor to the graveyard, Torna, the Windweaver, down to 100 life points. Next, what I'm going to do is I am going to activate Star Restart here. We're going to put the Magic Juggler back into the deck and special summon from our graveyard a Sword Dancer. This is going to be able to get us a fusion from our graveyard to our hand, which means we now have the ability to activate Imaginary Arc Turbo. We're going to send the fusion to the graveyard, and we are just going to target this guy right here, bumping us up to 4,300. We're then going to go to the battle phase, hit in for 13. Hit in for 13. And we are going to jump right away into lethal. I hope you guys are starting to get why Metarion is such a powerful strategy. Now, there are some lines with Metarion, for example, that don't get you everything. Hopefully, we can show some of those downside hands here. If not, we'll talk about them briefly during our next duel anyways. So, what is the big issue with Metarion? Well, it's a fusion deck that is extremely reliant on finding access to your fusion cards. You'll probably see it here in this duel since they're on an archive skill, which means they are very likely on Cyber Dragon. But occasionally you will end up just finding nothing. But here, this is actually not nothing. This is a very interesting board to be in. Because we could go normal use, send the top 2 to the graveyard. Then we can go fusion for a Sure Star, but if they have anything in hand, that does actually complicate some things. We are just going to set 2 here. I don't feel great about this, but I think it's slightly better than just summoning out a Sure Star, especially since none of these back row are anything right now. It's double fusion, Talismanic Seal Array. Cyber Dragon. Yep, so they are on Cyber Dragon, which I believe is very likely the best deck. And there is fusion, ladies and gentlemen. Very likely because we have gone for a set 2 board. Yep, they are going to be going for the Cyber Twin Dragon. This is opposed to going for something like Cyber End Dragon, where you would go in for that to be able to just smack your opponent for 1.5 billion damage. They're going to be able to hit into us with 2,800 points of damage, which is very obviously pretty rough. And we are not going to find anything here. So I wonder if... No, because if we kept the imaginary reactor in our hand, we would have taken more damage. But potentially, if we did actually go for the fusion turn 1 line, they wouldn't have been able to beat over us with Cyber Twin Dragon and would have had to commit to the End Dragon. Well... So we can grab Imaginary Arc Turbo, but we're still going to be 1 monster short of Talismanic. Yeah, I think unfortunately we do just automatically lose this duel because we didn't find any access to an Imaginary Actor on turn 2. We'll play it out, of course. We'll go set 3. And then we'll activate our skill. We're going to use this to send our monster reincarnation. Hopefully this is going to be able to thin the deck enough that we can find that. There is a real chance that we do live through this turn. My big issue is, can we live through this turn and kill our opponent on the crackback? With Sword Dancer, we can in theory. But they also know we're on Metarion, so who knows? They're going to be able to get in for 28 here no matter what, unless they potentially draw into one of the big tributes. I think this might actually be grab fusion. No, grabbing a proto. Just going battle. So we are going to be 400 away from lethal here, which obviously is rough. But we do also have Barrage of Steel. So if we hopefully can find our cards here, we're in business. And we do. We find what we needed. We're actually going to preemptively fire this imaginary reactor. We're going to return. Looks like that didn't end up shaking up correctly. We're going to draw 2, though, which is not necessarily what we wanted to see from this position. We're going to return our 2 imaginary actors, and we're going to return just 2 normals. Doesn't really matter the normals that we're returning on this board. We're going to target that. We are going to go for Barrage of Steel here. We are going to pop the back row. We are going to go... Sure Star isn't great here, but neither is Hercule Star. Can't be Ashura. It can't be... Probably is just Ladon. Go with that. We're going to activate the Set Fusion. Gonna make Ladon Star. We're from here. So we can get Imaginary Arc Turbo from here. Yeah. We'll do that. Send that. Grab Imaginary Arc Turbo. All right, we're going to get in for 33 here. This is very sketchy, though, because our opponent very easily could get into a position where they can find lethal off of this. We're 400 life points. This is honestly a very, very rough spot to be in for Metarion, or really any deck in general. Being stuck on this low of life points and being really forced to just go for this. Not great. And also, if they just end up finding Cyber and Dragon, they kind of cook us like that, so it's not great. They're going to be able to grab the Fusion from the graveyard there. And they are going to actually just be able to go for End here. And there's nothing we could have done, really, to play around them being able to go for End. Like, if they found access to Fusion, like, maybe we could have attacked a Cyber Dragon, but then, like, Cyber End is still alive, and yeah, we have Cyber Entry anyways. Like, if this was Negate Attack, we would be in an incredible position because they don't have Ancient Gear Golem. However, that's not the case, so we are just dead. No matter who they attack, with Cyber and Dragon, it is just the end of the game. They're going to choose to attack into our Metarion Ladon Star, and that's going to be it. So we showed a little bit about the deck when it's at its best, and a little bit about the deck when it's in a rough spot. And I have to get to work, which is why I'm ending this one here. But thank you guys for watching this video. I'm looking forward to making more Rush content. I have been having a ton of fun with this new format. It honestly really has just reinvigorated my love for Rush. I'm going to try to get some interesting decks going for some deck profiles and all of that. We might just have some more laddering with Metarion. We might be just doing some streams where we're playing some Metarion, playing some of these decks, and really trying to get a better hold of the metagame. And in the future, at some point, I'm not exactly sure when we're going to be doing it, but there will be a tier list video about the meta. I think I want to wait for a little bit more results for tournaments, and I also want to wait a little bit on other things. We're going to wait to see as well if there's a Goha Rush Festival in November, like there was last year. Last year there was, so I'm expecting that there will be this year. So I'm expecting that. I'm just expecting that there will be a Goha Rush Festival. And if there is, we will be obviously recording some of our gameplay with that. Potentially, we will even be streaming some of our runs, some of our games on days that I'm not going to be at work in the evenings. But yeah. So once again, thank you guys for watching this video. I greatly appreciate it, and I hope that I can see all of you guys in our next Rush Duel Links video. See you guys.